Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Hello, everybody. Here we are again, Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. And oh my God, now we've got another amazing. The hits just keep coming. They don't end, right? It's like your favorite radio station that just keeps playing the hits. And so we've got another amazing being with us today. So Andrea Donnelly is going to be rocking the house. She is an incredible presence and channel and light language leader, I want to say, or whatever, I don't know, many different things. And she's definitely going to help you kick up your vibration and soup up your manifestation, I believe, too. So I really, I'm so excited. She's got a really fun energy. So we're going to be diving into how to soup everything up with the light language and manifestation, clearing trauma, and all the rest. You're going to definitely want to hear her story. We're going to get into it in one moment.
Want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation today.
All right, Andrea, just so glad to have you here today.
Thank you. I am really excited to be here. I love your enthusiasm. I have always perceived myself to be like a cheerleader for humanity. So I am like really with that level of enthusiasm myself. For a very brief window of time, I was actually a real cheerleader in middle school. It was not to be for a variety of different reasons, but it was really fun. And I have always imagined myself to, really be here for that like level of excitement. So love that. I'm really feeling the vibe.
We're the cosmic cheerleaders, right? Always.
That's right. The cosmic cheerleaders.
All right, let me tell you about Andrea. Andrea Donnelly is a sought-after media personality, spiritual mentor, quantum sound and energy healer, and founder of We Are Here Too, Remember LLC. With over 20 years of experience in all things energy, she uses light language, speed codes. Hey, I love that, speed codes, and the Akashic Records to clear intergenerational trauma, illness, and pain so that her clients can align with their highest timeline and new levels of clarity, success, and abundance. She's been featured in Thrive Global, Yahoo, Bustle, Respin and Medium. When she is not doing media interviews or serving her clients, you can find her mothering her 2 cat children, many plants, and neighborhood birds and squirrels, working on her tap dance, and heavy spiritual comedy routine, and dreaming up a better world for one and all. Like I told you, this is going to be a lot of fun. All right, so Andrea, so what nuts are the squirrels chasing lately out there? I mean, there's so much we can take in, right? By just observing life and like we're getting that's something I think we talked about in our little chat was recently like when we pay attention, and man, we've so many people, including ourselves sometimes, but like we don't pay attention, like the signs, like what am I gonna do with my life, and like the signs just are constantly downloading to us constantly, like giving you the answers all day long, but then your mind says, I don't get it, where is it, I don't know what I'm supposed to do or what's supposed to happen, and so we're simply not able to pick up on it or not paying attention. So I really think it's interesting that if we can't pay attention, getting back to what I said, like we see the squirrels outside and they're looking for those nuts and everything, and when we're seeing that, like we're seeing whatever we're watching, like what is it telling us? Like, hey, maybe actually keenly be looking for what you want, rather than like constantly be like, I know there's no nuts around here. Oh, now what am I going to do? like, or whatever, all these kind of different mindsets come into play. So some people say it's all energy, there's nothing to do with mindset. So that's the other, it's all mindset and then the energy. And then we have so many different concepts about things, right, Andrea? So it's fascinating, isn't it? And I know, like, you're that's one of the things I appreciate with the little conversation we had, is you're definitely, I think, not dogmatic, but nuanced in your perspective. So I appreciate that. How about you?
Yeah, thank you. And I always, I have thought long and hard for years, but my entire life, I've been on a really intense spiritual journey. I was born remembering a lot of things that other people forgot. And that was like my life purpose when I was like 5 years old. And I've definitely gone back and been like, is that really a real movie? Is that a real thing that I experienced? It is. You can look it up on the interwebs. There was this Sesame Street movie called Don't Eat the Pictures. It might have been like a special or something. But anyway, it was about the Muppets getting stuck in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And it's this really hyper metaphysical lesson, essentially. And they get stuck overnight. They end up meeting the spirit of an Egyptian boy who is trapped on Earth and has been stuck here for like 4,000 years. His parents have since gone home to the stars, and they learn that the way that you move forward essentially is by keeping your heart as light as a feather. And when I was watching it, my guides were like, that's what you have to do. That's literally the point of your life, they were like, it's not going to be easy necessarily, which you already know. But as you move through your life, the true point for you is to be able to essentially hold that level of inner peace and navigate through any storm that comes your way. And someday it's all going to make sense. And they told me that all the time. Like everything that I've lived through a lot of junk. My life looked from an external perspective, and I can only laugh because we talked about it a little the other day. My journey has been bananas, and I have been in multiple bad car accidents. I lived through a ton of insane chaos as a child. My dad passed away when I was a baby. And all kinds of different, like, we had a lot of like family complexity that I won't even get into. I had back surgery a couple of years ago. When I started my business, I was disabled by chronic nerve pain. And the thing was that, like I said, from the time I was little, I had always, even when I was a baby, I talked to my guides. I channeled light language. And the thing was that on the one hand, there was a lot of mess. But on the other hand, and this relates back, I'm winding back to your point about animals and about nature and about the messages that we get. So I was like, living through a lot of chaos. But again, I was always being told and shown that someday it was going to literally all make sense. And when 2020 rolled out and everything really kicked up, right? Like, we've been going through this process of a global restructuring. I always think of it as like a phoenixing of every one of our systems that we're witnessing: education, finance, politics, all of it, food. Like, this time was a time when we were born to really remember who we were individually and collectively and start to steward the earth in a really different way. And the animals in nature were one of the ways that I was always hyper blessed. There was a lot of chaos going on in my childhood, but I also grew up in a house that my grandmother had bought for us, which was on a dirt road that was in central Massachusetts and was across the street from hundreds of acres of old growth forest and a swamp. And we also, for a lot of my childhood, had a beach house. So there were these ways where things were so messy, but then there was this other way where, like, the animals in the world always really rose to meet me. I channeled light language and I talked to animals from the time I was a little kid. And they really do something so miraculous for us. And so it is funny to think about like how many people don't realize, especially with something simple, quote unquote, like seeing an animal in the world. When you see animals in the world, squirrels, birds, all of it, they are there to help us remember something specific about, like, they all have really potent gifts that they give us. And so starting to really lean into those things changes things for people, because once you reconnect to that language, essentially, of divinity, is how I always perceived it, it makes it so you not only are paying attention to those like external signs of the animals, but you're also, it indicates that you're both willing and able to hear the guidance that you get from spirit, because I'm sure you see this all the time, but how many people, especially at the beginning of a spiritual journey, end up being like, oh, you know, I'm meditating, I'm doing breath work, I'm doing this, that, or the other thing, but nothing's happening. It's not that nothing's happening, it's that you have not essentially unlocked your own code and figured out the way that you receive the messages. So to me, you know, it's all part of a journey. And yeah, I love the squirrels in particular, because they are such good reminders to all of us that, like, we get to just like move quickly. And if something is not, they move at this really beautiful pace. They have I mean, they're also just really funny.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I remember one time, I'm not a big, massive animal communicator person, you know, I could channel, communicate with whatever, but I just don't really do a lot of it. And, but I remember one time it was one of those, I don't know, it was over 24 hours plus or something. I hadn't got any sleep or really little sleep or something. And it made me more open. All of a sudden, one day, I was like, I was just outside and a squirrel started talking to me. I'm like, oh, hi there. You know, like, I don't even remember what the squirrel said. I just remember all of a sudden, like, the squirrel's talking to me. Oh my God. Like, literally, it's talking to me in the human language, you know, like communicating into my mind. And I'm like, holy cow. Like, I guess I'm hallucinating is kind of, I think, what I thought at the time. But like, as I realized, no, you just opened enough to be able to enter into that space is what the key is. So
yeah, to hear it. I was walking down the street once. I lived in New York for a while, and I was working in Soho for this luxury cosmetics company. And I was on my way to work, and I was walking past, I was running late, which is like one of the constant struggles in my own life. So I'm running late. I walked past one of the storefronts on my way to my job, and I heard very clearly the words, "Help me." And I was like, what is going on? Where did that come from? Because there weren't that many people near me. And I was like, what on earth is that? And I looked in a store window, and there was a dragonfly stuck that had gotten trapped it was a luxury, you and I are both wearing glasses. It was in a luxury eyewear company. And I was like, okay, yeah, no, I'll come get you. I was like, hold on. I'm like, I'm late for work. You know, I'm like, with the people in the store, you know, I was like, what am I even like, what are they going to think I'm doing? And I was like, also, I super don't care what they think I am or am not doing. Walk up to the area that this dragonfly is trapped in. I was like, okay, so just like, I was like, here we go. And I put my hand out. I was like, you just get on here, hitch a ride. I'll bring you back outside. Jumped right on my hand, walk outside. I was like, okay, bye, buddy. Like, good luck. And it was so wild, because when I often talk to people about how I talk with animals, and they know how to communicate with us. And so that I love that story about you, like literally in human words, hearing a squirrel talking to you, because if we start to really pay attention, then we do realize that like it's also so interesting, because it's like part of what I always sort of categorize as like misinformation, right? We're taught that like humans are at the top of the hierarchy, and all of this stuff that's just like total BS, that's like not real and is total garbage. And in reality, we are part of this like beautiful interconnected web, and all we have to do is basically get out of our own way. And it's interesting because when people are very tired, right? you start to lose a lot, like you sort of go into this almost like quantum zone where you're I feel like you're a little bit like looser and more open to, right, it's hard to be very tired, but there are some intriguing benefits to it from like a metaphysical perspective. So I love that was like part of how you heard the squirrel.
Yeah. It's a little startling at that time. This is many, many years ago before I was really formally into all this stuff, so to speak. Right. So, yeah, but we had talked about this and when we connected at first here, and yeah, I think one of the things that I've been really looking to return to, because I don't think I've been listening as closely lately, but like, yeah, like there's all kinds of things that we're getting guidance to participate in, and often we don't hear it, or if we hear it, we're like, that's a stupid idea, I'm not doing that. Like like I mentioned a time when I was doing a lot of channeling and everything, and then the guidance, I was like, oh man, I'm so kind of wild and everything. And also the message came in at one point, well, where's wet socks? And I'm like, what? I'm like, what? Now my mind could have just discounted it, right? Like, I'm not going to do that. And I didn't do a lot of it, quite frankly, but I did try it. And I was like, oh, this is really grounding. This is helping me, right? So, so it's like I wouldn't have discovered that, right? So there's so many things that can be unlocked and that want to be unlocked if we'll just, pay attention first and then follow through on even the most crazy, ridiculous things that we're hearing sometimes, like just to follow through on it. But we've got to be listening. You have had a lifetime of not always listen, none of us always listen, but follow through especially. But you've had a lifetime of really being attuned and hearing the messages and trying to follow through on it, I'm sure. So like that's amazing. That's a great gift. And then we get better with it, right? With practice, right? Like after it gets stronger. A lot of times I don't hear nothing. It's really hard for me. It's natural for you. It's just a gift you have or whatever. Nah, you could build up that gift right now. Then maybe if you come back in another life, you'll have that gift right away in your next lifetime, right? That's how I see it anyway. How do you see it, Andrea?
Yeah, I see it in that same way. And I feel like one of the things that I really appreciate about my own gift, and one of my clients was saying this to me earlier in the week, that one of the reasons why working with me helped her so much is because I'm able to see with such incredible clarity, not just what you came into this life with, but all of those things from other lifetimes. And there are some really good reasons why we forget so much when we come into this life. It's a beautiful mystery. It gives us an opportunity to be able to it's basically like a mystery, like a long, every one of us is on this, like we are our own McGruff the crime dog, who was like popular when I was little, or like our own Pink Panther, where we're really leaning in and being able to be like, okay, it's like this real opportunity to explore who you are. But we do. And whatever your gifts are in this lifetime, you have done those same things both on this planet and in other places, like wherever some people are really like their souls originated on Earth, but most of us have, especially a lot of the people like you and I who are channels, who really remember a lot about like who we were and those talents that have carried over from other lifetimes. We've lived in other star systems, we've lived in this galaxy and in others. Like there's so much that we have done and amassed over time. And this point in history that we're living through right now was really destined to be a time when we would remember who we were in this profound way. And like Dolores Cannon talks about just that idea of like how much people wanted to be here during this time. So I think it can, like the reality, right? The day-to-day reality of being a human can feel like a freaking lot. And I think that's also one of my strongest gifts, is like I have this brilliant spiritual IQ. It's been hilarious to me. This is funny because it's been verified, as it were, by science. I had a personality, like a psychological profile done a couple of years ago called the Neo assessment. And the person who did it with me was like, you have the highest essentially spiritual IQ that someone can hold in human form. And that's amazing. It makes me really, really gifted and good at what I do. And the human journey is not easy. And one thing about me is like, you're never going to hear me spiritually bypass and pretend that like, that this is simple, right? People have so much going on. They like, even if your life was perfect, somehow which is not a real thing, but like, let's pretend that hypothetically, someone was born into a family of two parents who loved them, who were financially supportive and stable. And, you lived somewhere that was beautiful and all this stuff. You're still going to experience grief and loss. You're still going to experience things like physical injury and illness. And there are these ways that adversity essentially like keeps us grounded in our physical bodies, and also really gives us an opportunity to be able to remember that the flip side, right, of any adversity is love, is joy, that this world that we live in, which is so polarized in a lot of ways, that if you can start to remember that everything is happening within for you, no matter how messed up it looks like it might be, it makes it so that you're able to really like navigate with a much greater level of joy and ease.
Right, exactly. I mean, I just recently had a virus of some sort, and big fever for a number of days, and just knocked out. It was pretty nasty on the energy level, and at first I was fighting. I was like, I don't want to be sick. I don't want to have this going on. I want to get back to what I've been doing, right? And I started really, no, okay, I see what's going on. I'm supposed to surrender this. I'm meant to get this big reset right now, and this is exactly what I need. And thank you, So so yeah, it's just recognizing like the things happening. We've all experienced some level of pain and suffering if we've been alive, for more than 40 years or so, something like that. We've all run into some stuff. So, the times of deep suffering I had with the back and all that, I didn't have to have surgery or anything, but it's really bad. And during those times, at the time you're like, wow, your mind wants to say things like that, but then it's like this deep surrender comes into you, and you're like, oh, it's just like, just take me in a good way. Like, I give myself, I finally just submit, and it is submitting, like we're taught, like we're supposed to fight against everything all the time. But there's such, if you keep fighting, you're just going to keep fighting. So when we talk about, for example, manifesting, which is something you talk a lot about, you want to manifest more of whatever, I'm going to fight. I'm going to make it happen. Okay. I always just say, like, well, however you want to manifest something, I'm not saying you can't do it and it won't work, but if you want to fight to make it happen, just prepare to do that indefinitely. And do you really want to do that? Oh, maybe I don't want to fight for like eternity. So maybe I don't want to, maybe we don't need to do that maybe so much as this hardcore, I'm going to fight for it sort of thing all the time. So, but yeah, there's ultimately we're all being asked to let go is what I've found. And like listening to your journey, which I want to hear more about if you want to share a little bit more about it. But with all the trauma and stuff and our listeners, all the trauma that's come to them. Again, oh, why? I can't wait till I get back to the light. This sucks down here, and I love it. And then people try to just go love and light, everything, nothing matters. Love and light, it's the only thing, and we'll just focus there. We don't have anything to deal with, and yet they're going complaining all the time about things. So, how, given that you, our listeners also have had some insane challenges in our life, and you've dealt with that, what do you think is the key? Can you tell us more about that? Because you're starting to talk about it, and then I just kind of went on a big thing here. But what has been the key for you to get through, like, tremendous amounts of like challenge and struggle in your life, and then all of a sudden like how things can really flip in your life. Oh my God. And then like everything got radically different, like on the other side on some of those things, maybe not everything, but tell us about that, those experiences you've had.
Yeah. So, it's so interesting because I have, I've been in multiple different car accidents. I've been disabled by nerve pain, and I've had all kinds of really crazy things. My dad passed away abruptly when I was almost 3 years old from stomach cancer. He was 26 years old. That doesn't happen. They didn't even realize he had cancer until after he had passed away, because he was so young that they didn't even realize that that was what was happening to him. And he literally went into the hospital one night for what they thought was like a hernia or something. And he had returned to spirit that by the next morning. And it was not an easy journey. I mean, I know how much it was not easy, but my secret weapon was always that I was so heavily protected. So like on the one hand, all this stuff was happening, but then on the other hand, I was always like very tapped into this magic and miracles. I could always hear my guides. I didn't always listen to them, right? Because whatever, as we were talking about a few minutes ago, sometimes even someone like myself, who's always been able to hear the guidance, there were times in my life where I couldn't act on the guidance. So like I've been getting these awesome downloads about this work that I do for literally my whole life. I couldn't do them and share them in the way that I now am able to, and will continue, of course, to like grow and expand. I've like been seeing some awesome things that are going to be happening in terms of my work in the next couple of years. And the thing was, like, my guides always, I laugh about this because I can say this with complete authority because I have lived this, right? I often tell my clients that what is a subtle knock initially from spirit becomes basically a battering ram as we don't listen. And those 4 car accidents that I was in, they mirrored each other. So 2 of them I got rear-ended, 2 of them I got hit on the driver's side by trucks, and I was on my way to jobs 3 times during those accidents. So, right, the thing for me, if anyone, right, people listening can be like, sounds like you were supposed to work for yourself, right? Like that's like the first part of it.
Oh, too.
The fact like it's not actually that like mysterious or like hard of a code to unlock, but I wasn't ready. So the thing was that like I had to essentially show myself what I was capable of. My guides always tell me that I literally was born to show people what we are capable of. And the thing about me that is so, I think is really powerful is because I've lived through all of that, because the past 2 years I have started this business, which has just been unbelievable. The pace at which the business has grown and I have helped people all over the world has been so remarkable. And my own body was still transforming very, very heavily during this time. Like when they told me I needed to start my business in 2020, I had always known that I was going to, right? But I was like, how the F am I going to do this? Like I was telling you the other day, when I started this journey, my nerve pain was so bad that I literally would like be holding a cup of water and it would just fall out of my hands. I couldn't carry a purse around with me. Like I was really hard up. I weighed 50 pounds more than I do now. I was on a litany of medication. So it was interesting because I was basically straddling the worlds, right? Like I knew that I had been literally destined to do this massive thing for the planet. Every person and I was also lucky because I always, as I mentioned, heard the guidance with clarity. Like even when stuff was really just a dumpster fire for me, I always, again, love the spiritual stuff. And I'd go and get any kind of reading, like astrology, a records reading, whatever the way that someone navigates the world, tarot, psychic, what have you. And people would read me and they'd be like, what am I seeing here? You are somehow like the luckiest person I've ever seen, and also the not the like the opposite of that. And you literally came here to be like an Abraham Hicks, or like one person did a cold reading for me a couple of years ago, and he was like, "You came here to start a food network for the soul." Like it was also always so interesting, and I'd be like, "Yep, that's what they tell me," like that. So that helped me to be able to like move through all of that, because I did know that it was for a reason. But it makes it so that especially people who come to me who are transmuting a lot of trauma, there's a way where, because of what I have lived through and survived, it gives me the certain like authority, as it were, to be able to be like, listen, the way that you get through this is to literally look at the patterns, to become your own anthropologist, to become your own investigator, and to really start to like connect the dots in your own life and be like, okay, what is this pattern keeps coming up? I'm attracting narcissism, or I'm attracting trauma, or like these, and I'm not in any way blaming, right? I'm not like blaming people for their health problems or their blocks or any of that stuff. Again, being a human is really effing hard, but we have to completely essentially engage in a really deep internal paradigm shift, where we start to realize that every single thing that has ever happened within for us, right? If you had a family that was horrendous, you were physically abused, you suffered from poverty, you like whatever the things were that you experienced, especially as a child, those things are also in a lot of ways a massive blessing. Because if you are, for example, I have a client who lived through a lot of very, very intense amount of childhood chaos. And I always say to them, the thing about it is that what are the ways that again, we're not like making excuses or disacknowledging that trauma is traumatic, but especially in this person's case, yeah, their parents, horrendous, absolutely horrendous people. This person was abused and just suffered from so much terrible stuff. But there is a real strength that they possess. This person is a spiritual genius. And there's something so powerful, right? If you have a wonderful family, if you have people that love you, that really like, that you, whose opinions you really value, that can actually be, that can impede someone's spiritual growth. Because like in this person's case, the fact that they don't have the kind of family support that a lot of other people do actually made it so that it made their life hard, and it created a lot of opportunity for struggle. But on the other hand, they get to do and be whoever they want without anyone looking at them and saying, why are you doing that thing? What is it like? And I think that's the big part of like recovering from that and moving through it, is to start to realize that there are literally gold and silver threads in anything. I know there are a lot of people who don't believe that like everything truly happens for a purpose. I know it's a hot topic, right, in the spiritual community, where there are people who really feel like, there are like oppressions that are just like too big or too great. And I don't feel that way. I feel like everything happens within for us, and that's literally the way that you move through it. It's to be like, all right, what are the gifts that I got, even from the junkiest junk?
Right. I mean, especially when we look at the even a sense of a linear, there's different ways of looking at everything, but you look at the linear path of a soul, coming into a incarnation, and whether they were human or alien or animals in other lifetimes or whatever, rock or stone, I don't care, but whatever it is, Dolores talks a lot about that stuff and the things she's discovered, which is fascinating. She just said that's why she got so popular. It's all that deep hypnosis she did with people hanging on her every word. What else did they learn about the ETs? But my point is, when you look at it, again, like the thousands of scans and whatnot I've done, and tuning into people's souls. And there is, quite frankly, we want to experience it all. It's something that we just want to keep remembering. We came in to experience all these things. We wanted to experience, and it sounds insane to the mind, but you came in to experience all this trauma. You came in to experience somebody leaving you and breaking your heart. You came in to experience, being wealthy in one lifetime and begging for food in the street in another. We want to experience kind of all of it, like that's how our soul is, how we are as souls. Like we're here to collect these experiences and we want to experience everything. So of course it all is there to benefit our higher good. And but when we can be conscious and awake enough to start to see that and understand that as it's happening, that there's a huge opportunity in that, isn't there?
Yeah, there really is. And it's so interesting too. Like when I work with people, I have one of my clients is remarkable and is the kind of person who you wouldn't necessarily imagine. They have a very like 3D, as it were, business. They're really successful. They have an advanced degree. They came to me, they had already built a 7-figure company. And when I started working with them, within 2 weeks of me doing this kind of session that I do with people called a celestial soul retrieval, where I like literally go into and align people fully with their frequency, the song they were born to sing, and help people to sort of realize the ways that can benefit them so enormously. We had a follow-up call yesterday, and they told me that they have, since doing that in the past couple of weeks, that they have had a 100% closure rate with all of the new people who have come into their business. They earned the investment back that they made in signing up to work with me for 6 months in one day. And it's just beyond, they like surpassed that. And this person was already doing so well for themselves, but they knew that the spiritual was basically going to be the ticket that helps them unlock their next level. Right. And I feel like that is really for all of us right now, every one of us. I know you see it with the people that you work with. It's why you created this podcast. I see it with the clients that, come into my world, is really, and my guides have literally been telling me this my whole life, is that, and I'm like making the money sign, is that our spiritual gifts right now are literally the greatest currency that we can possess. And that the way that we are all going to basically bridge the realms and what we are moving through as a collective and as individuals is to really start to harness that spiritual power. Because when you do the work, when you do the spiritual work, whether it's energy work, breath work, working with people who are channels and healers, it basically gives you this secret weapon or a secret, like a superpower, because you get to then be like, all right, like this client of mine has all of these incredible credentials, is so gifted at what they do, and unlocking and starting to really listen to that guidance that we are all getting all the time has made it so that in such a short window of time, they've already up leveled so quickly. And that I feel like is the real magic of this, is, and what every person who is on earth right now came here to do, was to remember that this spiritual experience is in fact a really brilliant currency. My guides always, I always like sort of called, I know people have all kinds of different ways that they refer to what we're going through right now, the new earth, the golden age, 5D, like whatever, however you want, whatever human words you want to put around it. I always called it the economy of generosity. That's always how I saw it. That's always how I perceived it. I've always wanted, I was like a real weird little kid. I wanted to both be an artist and a philanthropist. Like what little kid is like, started hanging out with the animals, whatever, vision crafting a future where they have like a foundation. But I was really wanted to have a foundation where I literally am at a place in my own human experience where I have amassed the kind of of wealth where I'm able to use it to be able to give back in a really deep and powerful way. Like I have it all worked out. I don't know if you're familiar with like the MacArthur Genius Grants. It's like got a little bit of that flavor. I've got the whole thing mapped out, and I've literally been planning it my whole life. And if I didn't listen to all the wacky guidance that I get. You were talking earlier about the thing with the socks, right? When we don't listen, and I'm laughing because like a lot of times the stuff, like I literally was being told for over 20 years in meditation that I needed to buy tap shoes and use them as part of my channeling. And when I did it, so again, for over 20 years, when I've been going into meditation, I've literally been seeing this image of me tap dancing. So I took dance lessons for a long time as a kid, but I did ballet and jazz. I have tap shoes. A couple of months ago, finally did it. So the thing is that those kooky things about us that are like so silly, that sound perhaps so like, why would you put wet socks on? Oh, like that does not sound like a cool or fun thing to do. Except then when I actually tapped, like before you even explained what the punchline was, I tapped into the energy and I was like, yep, I see exactly what that did. It was basically created this like deep cord of connection between you and the earth. And it helped to align something and basically like open those chakras in your feet to a new level of your own like magic and gifts, and really ground you in this powerful way of engaging with the world. And yeah, you're not trying to wear wet socks all the time. Maybe you only did it the one time, but all we have to do is start to like listen and act as much as we can. Right? It's not about being perfect. We're never going to be perfect in human form. I think that's one of the other big things, and I'm sure you see this with people too, is like this meme will never, I love memes so much, but there was a meme that circulated a couple of years ago that was absolutely one of the most brilliant like explanations essentially in visual form of what it's like to be spiritually awake. And it showed like what people imagine the spiritual journey to be, and then had this picture of this like beautiful, really centered, grounded woman, and then it was juxtaposed against this image of someone like in front of a dumpster fire whose head was exploding, and it was like what people imagine the spiritual journey to be versus what it is. And it's like, yeah, you know what, your stuff is gonna get messed up when you start to enjoy the spiritual fruits of the world, because we are all carrying around an energetic bag of rocks with us. That's how, one of the ways that a friend of mine and I like started using that idea of like an energetic bag of rocks years ago. In order to make room for all the stuff that's really good, we have to clear those rocks. And the more you can clear the rocks, the more you can like look back on those times where you have unprocessed emotions, where you have ancestral trauma that's not even, I mean, how many of us are literally like living truths that were not even our own? Where like in my family, there was a lot of PTSD, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. I'm not saying that I didn't have those things myself, but there were ways where I realized as I moved through my own journey of really anchoring into who I was, that I had taken on a lot of stuff that was literally not even mine. And so I feel like working with people who are spiritual mentors to help us to be able to see it. And it doesn't even matter. Like one of the things that I've realized too, as I've like gone deeper into this journey and really been doing this, like I was doing trades with people for years prior to my official launch of my business. But the more that I've worked with like large numbers of people, one of the things is like, people often want to like know why things are happening. It doesn't matter in some ways. And I feel like if we get too hung up on the why, as opposed to like, okay, yeah, we could get to the bottom of like why something is happening, but let's more focus on the pattern what it does to you, what it evokes in you. And let's just work on getting rid of it. Let's clear that from your bag of rocks, because the more unencumbered you can be, the lighter you literally become, the more room you then have to anchor back into that frequency that you were born to share. And I feel like it's just so urgent and important for all of us, because if we're not doing the thing that we came here to do, whatever that is, it's going to be different for everyone. But if we're not doing that, if we're not shining our light, if we're not singing our song, then there's nobody else who can do it. And that to me, like, is real. Like, I feel like I literally just heard my guides go like, bum, bum, bum. Like,
Yeah.
like that's like
Exactly.
so flipping important is to remember that, like, you are a child of the divine. And if you're not doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing because you got so sort of dredged in the human, then you're not just missing out on your own life, but you're depriving, you know, your community and the world of being able to like experience whatever it is that you came here to do.
Right. That's amazing. Yeah. That we have these gifts, you know, is what you're saying. We have these gifts, and your trauma is your gift. Your spiritual gifts are your gifts. And you got all these gifts, and, you know, and you're looking around saying, I got nothing in the bushel. I got nothing in the bushel. And yeah, no, it's full. You just can't, you're not looking at it the right way. So, so it's a matter of recognizing how full it really is. And yeah, people deny their spiritual gifts. They think their trauma is what's stopping them. If those traumas, you know, had never happened, or if one of these millions of healers I hired actually would have cleared it, like, I'd be fine by now. And like, and that becomes a whole racket too.
Yeah.
But like, it's like just realizing just this one thing, if we even make it as basic of what you're saying, is like, all of it's solid gold. The minute you're willing to recognize it as solid gold, then it becomes that, you know, it's that simple. It's so simple. Of course, against where we get lost is when our mind just complicates the heck out of everything, and we realize it's that simple. Okay, I'm meant to do me, and I'm meant to do everything that's come to me as gold. I'm meant to share in the world, and that's how I manifest. That's how I get wealthy. That's how I make the impact. That's how I make the contribution I've come to make. That's how I awaken. That's how I enlighten. That's how I so-called ascend, or whatever, however we look at it. But like how I raise up. But yeah, they have the support to do that. You're right. I mean, you mentioned about having the support. You know, like, my mind could convince me I don't need anybody. I know everything. I could just download it. I can just make things happen. I can make anything happen. I can do it. I could do it, you know, and then it's like, yeah, but how do you feel? It's the quality of difference when you have a team of people that are there helping you and supporting you and seeing you and presencing you. How much easier has it become? Oh, it comes like 10 times easier, 100 times easier, right? And more expansion, more opportunity, and so much more that, you know, we can't expect to be fully expanded in every way. Look at like whether you like these people or not, like, you know, John of God had like hundreds or whatever people like working together with him, or, you know, like any of the great spiritual masters of our time had people supporting them like in droves, and had mentors at some point, and maybe ongoing mentors often. And, you know, so it's like, there aren't any exceptions. You know, sometimes we think like, well, yeah, but I have got help. It never worked out. I've already put in hundreds of thousands into this, and like, what's the point? And it's like, okay, you still don't get it. You know, it's more about you don't get it yet. Like, it's all gold. It is giving you everything you need. You can't run out. People look at their timeline, and even in this life, they're like, I'm going to run out, and then I'll be dead, and, you know, then it's all over, and then it doesn't matter. So I'm just waiting to die, and then it'll be all over, and then I'll go to the light, I'll send, and you're coming right back. Like, it's like a boomerang. So like, back.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Oh, yep. And then that's the thing about it, is if we don't, and like, who wants to get stuck in that kind of karmic loop? Like, not me, not ever again. Like, I want to resolve the stuff that I came here to resolve,
Right.
and then figure out a way to really align into who I am completely in this lifetime. So whatever I do next round is, there's this movie that I really love called Defend Your Life. Have you seen it? It has Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep in it. It was made in the 80s. It's brilliant. And there's this really, really funny scene where he dies and he's in heaven, and he's basically has to defend his life, and his lawyer, his lawyer from heaven, what have you, in this process, and he are talking about how much of our brains do humans use. And so his lawyer is talking about how he uses about something like 48% of his brain. And he asks this guy how much of his brain he thinks that he used. And he's like, well, if you use like 48, I probably use what, like, I don't know, we'll say like 40 or something. And the guy starts laughing uproariously. And he's like, about 2 or 3% is about the average amount of brain that humans use on Earth. And he's like, what? Like, what do you do? He's like taken aback and kind of offended and like all this stuff. And he's like, well, what's the point then? And he's like, well, the thing is, when you start to use more than like 5% of your brain, there are better, more dynamic places that you can go than Earth. Earth has lovely fast food and like takeout and like whatever. He says something like, Earth has amazing restaurants, basically. It's so beautiful. And it is like, I love this planet. This planet is a jewel. It is a gem. It is beautiful in ways that no other planet has the kind of like sort of physical magic that Earth has. And as we discussed, it's really hard, and it's hard to be awake. It's hard to be awake. Like, I remember being a kid and like watching people literally like throwing garbage on the ground and like feeling like my heart was being ripped open, like being little and walking past people who were homeless. Like I could not, even as a small child, wrap my brain around the way that people were so desensitized to the pain of this place. But like, it also doesn't need to be that way. And that's literally why you and me and every person who's listening to this was to help shift that frequency so that we can start to use more as a collective than 5% of our brain, or, like start to really unlock our DNA, start to really align in the fact that our hearts, right? I don't know if you're familiar with like the work of the Heart Math Foundation, but there has been a lot of scientific evidence that has been amassed over time that shows that like our hearts literally create a field around us that ends up engaging with the universe, right? There have been studies. I remember reading a study that came out, I don't know, I want to say like 15-ish years ago, that was done at Harvard about the way that people's brains change when they meditate. And because of the amount of disinformation that we get from the top down, which is complicated because there are some really, as you start to sort of delve into that, I know we're like nearing time, but it's really important for us to start to realize, like, on the one hand, the narrative isn't magic, isn't real, but when you really look at the systems at play, political, religious, those systems literally use magic. I mean, in our country, the US, right? One of my favorite examples of this is that most of the presidents, that they have people like astrologers and psychics on staff. Huge corporations have psychics that they have on staff, right? Like the churches use magic. Like there's this way where like we're told that those things are not real, but then what is the actual action, right? There's like, we can all say
for you guys, it doesn't work. It's no good, but we're using it. But we want you to know it doesn't work. And that is it's fascinating. We can do a whole hour just talking about that one subject right there. So, but we're on to it. People are waking up. They're starting to realize more of the deeper truths around these sorts of things, certainly. So because we are really getting to the point of where we need to wrap up completely. I know you really love to share your light languages with people. And I know you have a gift. So we only have just a few minutes for you to share about your gift. And if you wanted to share a quick transmission, you could, but I really literally only have a few minutes left for this segment. But yeah, if you want to, tell people about what you had to share. I know you wanted to talk about the light language activation that you have for them.
Yeah, I have my freebie is so good. It's so powerful. The things that people experience when they listen to it are profound and amazing. And if you go to my website, which is weareheretoremember.com, you have all the links. I know you'll make sure that everybody has it, but if you just go to my website, you scroll down to the bottom, I have this light code activation, which is to align you in the frequency of magic and miracles. And the way that it works is that it basically clears out the ancestral trauma that you have been carrying around that is no longer aligned with who you are and where you're going. And so it does this hyper complex thing that I could literally talk about for like 25 hours. But just if you are excited by my work, go ahead, sign up for my newsletter. You'll get a link to that. You can listen to it. Some people listen to it literally. I have clients of mine who listen to that alone every day. And in addition to like working with me and going like much deeper, but you'll also end up getting a special discount on a new client session. So it's it's wonderful. And I love this work. I believe in it so deeply. I have seen it create phenomenal miracles in my life and in my clients' lives. And I know it works, and I'm really excited to see who ends up finding me as a result of this.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll put the link down below, and you can always just look up Andrea too online these days. It's so easy, and you can find your website if for some reason you don't have access to the link wherever you're listening. It's possible. So, all right. So, yeah, let's definitely let people know more about that through that link. And then also maybe you'll have a quick message right at the end of the show for just even a minute or so to share with everybody with light language, right? That'd be a fun way to end the show. So we're to the point of the show where I like to maybe share a couple of downloads with you today. Andrea, would you like to receive what's coming through?
Please. Oh my God, yes.
Okay, let's do it. Let's see what happens. Let's see what comes through. It's always fun. All right, here we go. Let me just tune in for a moment. Okay, so I'm getting showed like a clock, and there's many meanings here. So one is, hey, okay, yeah, you're right. It's time to get going now. TikTok, there's some like a sense of urgency they're showing me with you. And then also they're just kind of reminding me of that Stranger Things show, right? Like with the clock. I don't know if people have seen that, but anyway, with the clock thing, the clock theme, and that there's you work with the timelines, you work with a sense of like there's time, and yet there's this like sense of it's not really about time, so I said there's urgency, and it seems like it's because it could be like in your mind like, oh, time, right? But it's about like the magic of that there's so much available like right in this present moment, and that you can energy weave people into their higher potential and realities. Like you can grow flowers that don't even have a seed in the ground, like just to give people the most incredible awakening to the how porous and fluid, I guess is the word I'm looking for, the reality is. So that's an amazing, you're such a deep trance energy weaver, even, and channel, of course. So let's see what maybe we'll get one or two more here. Yeah, I just get kind of like that raising of the dead sort of thing, because I keep hearing about the Stranger Things, and that's got there's a death kind of thing with all that I was talking about. So with this, it's like, you know, where everything seems dead and like nothing's going to move forward. It may not be your client base all the time, but it feels like if you were doing charities, like you're going to take people in these situations and through your gifts and also through other means, you're going to raise people from seemingly impossible situations into their great potential, like their spiritual potential. So, because with it locked in, every so-called disabled person, you know, is like all this enormous potential and gifts. And I feel there's some kind of calling for you to help with people that are considered disabled, like whatever they've got. Oh, you got cerebral palsy, you got this or that, whatever. And that there's something you're doing to help with that and also activate at an energetic level as well. So that, yeah, I kept getting like it was going to be two main things. So, okay, good. So I'll keep it there then on that. So, Andrea, yeah. Yeah.
Wow. That made me cry. I knew you were good, but that was uncanny. And the way that you communicated it with language that I would use and that I have like literally a few years ago, my guides called me a time weaver. And I have also really felt very much my whole life like that's one of the things I'm here to do, is to help people who have any kind of chronic illness. I'm actually going to be launching. I haven't talked about this yet, but I feel like I have to say it. And then, so I'll say this and then I will give, I'll do a little channeled, I know we have to wrap it up, but it'll be quick. It'll just be like 30 seconds. But yeah, I'm going to be launching this thing. I think December is probably going to be the first month I do it, which are called Sunday sermons. And they're literally going to be just like free. It's when I'm going to be doing the tap dancing and just like really going super goofy with it. And that I have been shown that is going to have a massive impact, because just by being in my energy, that image that you were shown of like me raising people from the dead, someone who read for me earlier this year was like, you could literally be asleep and the impact that you have on the people around you is unbelievable. So love that so much. Thank you. And on that note, my guides are saying that this light language that is going to come through is to really help everyone listening to anchor into a new level of abundance and to help clear those ways that we feel basically dead inside. Rungabaya raga stangarega barolinga barada stagarela like a baloga ninga bastangarolinga barninga linga oh ya messiah gala maya karoli my gosh ringa bastanganimra namrastangara my mimra take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, and on that exhale, imagine all of the things, all of the ways that you are struggling right now, literally just falling back to the earth so she can recycle them back into those building blocks of life. And on the inhale, breathing in the miracles and the love. It is so, it is so, it is so. Oh, thank you so much, all of you listening.
Wow.
And to you, Daniel, for creating this, for holding this space for people and for doing the work you do. I feel very honored always to like meet other people who are part of what I know is my soul family, who are really helping people in very big ways. So thank you.
No, thank you, Andrea. It's for being here, and I'm so grateful for everything you've had to share, and that's a beautiful that transmission. I don't, like you were awakening, remembering within me at a quantum level of where I've been and the things I've done. Like when you did that, like that's what it awakened in my awareness. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh yeah. It's like all these threads coming back into my awareness and then my energy and my body. And that was really beautiful. Thank you so much. And
you're welcome.
And yeah, real quick, everybody, if you want to check me out, just go to yoursacredpurpose.com and take advantage of the Meditate and Make Money meditation. It's something that a number of people have reported. Everybody reports to me that they really enjoy it. And then the other thing is that it opens up your energy. It gets you aligned with the energy that you want to be in, and gets you the downloads of abundance and specific guidance too, sometimes that you can act on, information you can act on. So get to Meditate and Make Money meditation, and find its wonders. Definitely people have reported continuously making more money listening to it. So check it out at yoursacredpurpose.com. And yeah, as we're starting to wrap up completely, actually, I'll give you one last round, Andrea, because I always like the guests to give a last message. So one last quick message, like just a quick sentence or two or something.
When it feels like there is no hope, that is the biggest moment of transformation that we can have as humans. And we often want to throw the towel in when stuff is real messy, but that is precisely when you have to just keep going. So do it. We can do it. You can do it. There is so much love in this world. And yeah, just never forget that.
Oh, that's so awesome. Thank you, Andrea. You're such a gift, such a gift to the world, and such a powerful and unique way. And I'm grateful the reflection you are that for everyone. Everyone has that unique signature that only they can do, and that you reminded people of that in so many ways today. And I'm so grateful for that. So thank you. Thank you. So, and thank you for everybody listening. And as I always say, keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time, everyone. Goodbye for now. Listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.